have done various things on the philosophy segments in the past, but I don't think we've gotten very much in these philosophy segments to arguments for the existence of God, which of course is something that, yeah, right. See, this is like a classical thing. This is what, Thomas Aquinas and Ansel,
Tommy,
Descartes, like all these people, like they spent their time doing it. So we've got a clip of a couple of the great minds of our era being asked how they could prove the existence of God. And
at the $20 level, you get something special.
$20 level, you can watch me fret with my bags. So, all right. So, again, I think we can all agree the two most important intellects, actually the three, this because all three of them are in conversation here. The three most important thinkers of our era are Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, and Jordan Peterson.
Well, I don't know who doesn't agree with that.
I can't imagine anybody not agreeing with it.
That was clear from that video.
Well, let's show the nice people what we're talking about. So Dave Rubin has asked Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro essentially to give him an argument for the existence of God.
Danny, we're not even talking about Kant.
Are you getting Kant puns in the chat?
I am.
So here is Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson explaining their best arguments for the existence of a creator.
Well, here's one selection mechanism. It's like, so human females are very sexually selective. That's why you have twice as many female ancestors as male ancestors. So the male failure rate for reproduction is twice that of the females. Okay, so the question is, well, how is it that males succeed differentially? And the first answer is, well, females reject. Human females reject. But then the question might be, well, they reject on the basis of what? And the answer is, well, it's something like competence. And then the question is, well, how is competence defined? And then the answer to that is, well, men put themselves in hierarchies and they vote on each other's competence. And it's really counterintuitive in some sense from an evolutionary perspective, because you'd have to ask yourself, why would men put themselves in positions where they elevate some men in status and then give them a huge reproductive advantage, given that that's to their reproductive disadvantage in some sense? Okay, and there are reasons. Part of that might be, well, let's say you decide to follow the best leader in a battle. Well, then you don't die. Like, he might get all the women, but you don't die, so at least you're still in the game. And it might be the same if you're following the greatest hunter. And the greatest hunter wouldn't be the person who is best at bringing down the game. It would be the person who is best at bringing down the game and sharing it and organizing the next hunt and all of that, right? And so men will organize themselves into groups and privilege certain men, and that puts them ahead in the reproductive hierarchy. And so what that means to some degree is that there's a spirit of masculinity that's shaping the entire structure of human evolutionary history. That's what that means. And then I think, okay, well, that might just be a biological epiphenomenon. And so it would be a spirit it's the spirit of positive masculinity that manifests itself across epochal ages, millions of years perhaps, and it actually has shaped our consciousness, actually. And so you can think about that as a figure, and it would be the figure that emerges. It's like the essential spirit of all the great men who defined what greatness constituted. That's a spirit. Okay, now that's a purely biological explanation. You could say, well, that's God for all intents and purposes. You might have an image of that built right into you. Even the sense that you can experience something divine and paternal might be merely a reflection of that evolutionary process. So that would be a biologically reductive argument for the existence of what we experience as God. But then there's another possibility too, which is that that's actually reflective of a deeper metaphysical reality that has to do with the nature of consciousness itself. And I would say that I think that's true. I believe the biological case, and I believe the biologically reductive case, but I don't think that exhausts it. I think that there's a metaphysical layer underneath that the biology is a genuine reflection of. And that's the sort of the macrocosm above and the microcosm below. That we are really reflective, including in our consciousness, of something about the structure of reality itself. And that might involve whatever whatever it is that God is.
Well, so that's why I think this is so interesting, because what you're doing there, especially at the end, is you're giving it a little room to say, I don't know, right?
Well, you have to.
Yeah, but I think that's what people don't want to grant you.
Well,
guys.
this is why I don't like the question. Do you believe in God?
Right.
It's like, well, that's like, it's to me that question is always like, well, what makes you so sure that you know that God exists? And
right.
It's like, well, I'm not sure. I'm not willing to claim that certainty, you know, but I laid out the argument. I don't know what you think.
So what do you think about when he takes it all the way to that end, and then there's that little space at the end?
I mean, again, I don't think that that's severely problematic in terms of just general religious thought. I mean, the general religious thought going back thousands of years, and this is why when you look at Aquinas' proofs of God, what he comes to is he says basically what you say, which is if you go down deep enough, then you get to something, and that something is what we call God.
What?
One thing I really enjoyed.
My head hurts now.
Yeah, this is what, your like third time watching that?
And it makes no more sense now than it did the second or the first time.
Yeah. Exactly. Leave that one up.
I want to know how we have twice as many female ancestors as male.
Or I think it was the other way around, but whatever. It's like either way.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Either way, I would think it would be 50-50. Like, just, you know, from what I understand about, like, you know, unless some of these were, you know, virgin births, like I just,
at least, you know, biologically speaking, you know, maybe these are transgender female identifying.
I am fairly certain
people.
That is not what Jordan Peterson means.
And
I'm just going to take a stand here and say that's not what he's talking about. But I guess my favorite.
Trying to use some interpretive charity here.
Yeah,
it's hard.
You know, he's
hard to make it work.
Yeah.
Antonio. Yeah, Antonio.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That wasn't the Antonio I was talking about. The progressive view of gender.
Right. Well, I don't think Jordan Peterson is known for his progressive view of gender.
People can change.
Perhaps. So I would think that would have been more of a news item if he had changed his mind about that. But yeah, it's a weird it's a weird claim, and I think that actually John, if God asked me, right, you know, as the atheist, if God hypothetically existed, do you think it would be a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah,
Charlie Kirk asked you that.
Charlie Kirk asked that exact question in our debate. I'll say what I said to him, which is it kind of depends. Like, you'd have to fill out some details for me, right? Like, if
that makes sense.
You know, like, are we talking about a God who would, you know, send me to hell for not believing in him? In which case, I think that would be very bad news for me if that God existed. And then he was like, exactly. Then Charlie was like, oh, well, okay, but just assume that you're going to heaven. Like, and then I was like, okay, I mean, I guess that would be good. I don't know what this is supposed to prove, but like, sure, sign me up, you know, like, I don't like the idea of not existing one day. I'm not, you know, I'm all for eternal life. If that's, you know, if it's good eternal life, and if that's, you know, that's one of the options.
Jay Hutch, I don't know who you are, but you're one of my favorite people. I just want to say that.
Yeah. So I think one of my favorite things about that clip, having seen it a few times also, is that Ben Shapiro, who, you know, I think I'm very on record as not being a fan of Ben Shapiro. See the cover of my first book, for example.
Drawn by Ryan Lake.
That's right. But man, in this particular room, Ben Shapiro looks like Kant, right? I mean, like he's so much more coherent than anybody else at that, you know, table. And I like the fact that Shapiro is essentially doing the thing that good classroom teachers do, in like intro to philosophy classes.
I was doing that today because we were talking about Kant today.
Where like, and I'm not saying all or even most intro students are like this, but you know, there are some, you know, the type, you know, they like where some student will just like babble just this stream of like nonsense. And the thing that you learn to do, right, if you're a good classroom teacher, is instead of being like, wait, what?
What? What did you just say?
I don't understand what any of that means, dude. Instead of doing that, which would just shut down the conversation, what you do is you translate it into something in the neighborhood that actually makes sense. So, you know, like what's the closest thing that like would be a coherent thought to
So what I'm getting from this
yeah, okay, so I think what you're saying is, and then like they're so confused they're not even going to recognize that what you said is not at all what they said. Like,
or they'll say something and then they'll be like, did that make sense? And then I can just be like, no, can you try again? But most of the time they aren't aware that they aren't making sense.
Yeah,
But,
well, so
you gotta, you know, kind of tweak it a little bit for them.
yeah, like they probably know that like it's a little bit jumbled or whatever, so they'll be happy to latch on to anything that's kind of sort of like
that's
what
what
they
I
said.
said. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So that's what Shapiro is doing at the end, right? Because it's like Peterson just went on like just 2 minutes of just like, I don't even know what you
word salad.
like 2 minutes of word salad. And it's like, here are a bunch of like vague claims about evolution and something about the masculine spirit or the, you know, spirit of manhood or something. And then like, okay, he sort of realized that he hadn't said anything that would be an argument for the existence of God. And so he says, but there's like a metaphysical thing underlying that. It's like, oh, okay. So, and then Shapiro says, essentially what Shapiro did at the end is, okay, so I think what I'm hearing is you're just giving me Thomas Aquinas's first cause argument for the existence of God, which I'm going to say right now is not what Jordan Peterson was doing over the course of those 2 minutes. I heard nothing.
It would have never occurred to me. I mean, props to Ben Shapiro there, because I could have never done anything but stare blankly at that. That would have been anybody else want to respond to that? Anybody, you know, want to respond to Jordan there? Please.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because like, yeah, that's what like Shapiro has been like, okay, so this sounds to me like Thomas Aquinas saying that if you trace everything back, there has to be some sort of, you know, first cause of everything. And it's like, okay.
And that is what we call God.
Yes.
I mean, that's literally what he says.
No, that's the. I don't know why that was so funny.
Yeah,
I
mean, it is funny. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. No, those are literally the words that came out of his mouth. But it's like, clearly, that's not what Jordan Peterson just said, right? I mean, like, there's no place in like Thomas Aquinas where he's like, I don't know. So like there's evolution and there's the hunters and, you know, the mightiest hunter, you know, is like, maybe, I don't know, maybe you like share
if you follow the best warrior into battle, he takes all the women, but you get to live. What? And we have twice as many female ancestors.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would just be like you think that like there are like ancient super studs who are, you know, that they like that they have they're getting
like
around.
The high school quarterback.
Yes, that the quarterback is, you know, the Neolithic quarterback is like half of our ancestor, you know. So half of us have that guy as our ancestor. You know, I mean, you know, I guess it's possible. I'd like to see some citations, but. Yeah, and I do also think like, yeah, somebody brought up and Antonio said that is Aquinas. So Aquinas is who Shapiro referenced there, I think, right? Like, did he say his name? I don't know. I got lost in a lot of what was going on there.
Huh?
For some reason, I thought I heard Aquinas' name in there somewhere. And Aquinas does, how many ways are there? Is like five. The 5 ways, like one of them is basically the first, one of them is the first cause argument, right? That every effect has to have a cause, and you have to be able to trace the causes.
And you can't go at an infinite regress. So there has to be something that is a cause, but is itself uncaused. And this is what we call God.
Right. Not that I think Aquinas uses that phrase, but yeah, that's the.
No, it is.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And this, I think it's, and this we call God.
Oh, and this. Okay, yeah. There we go. That sounds more like Aquinas. Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Sorry, I didn't have Aquinas's perfect wording there, but
okay. Well,
yes.
In the future,
and this we call God.
In the future, before we do a segment on GTA, memorize everything that Thomas Aquinas said. So. Yeah, it's like Aquinas or Descartes or any of these people, none of them say, St. Augustine, none of them say anything that's anything like what Jordan Peterson said in those 2 minutes, or anything that has any kind of family resemblance to anything that Jordan Peterson said in those 2 minutes. That is all him. I did an interview with Robert Wright for Blogging Heads about my book, and we went back and forth for a while about whether Christopher Hitchens was particularly significant, because did he have really new ideas? I was like, I don't know. Do you have to have really new ideas to be an interesting writer?
How many new ideas are there? Really?
Well, I think we just heard one.
Oh,
I don't think it was a new good idea. But whatever Peterson was saying, I am pretty sure that's all him. That's he's not repeating something he heard someone else say. That is an original Jordan Peterson thought. So if that is the standard of philosophical greatness, then
I wonder if he could come up with that again.
Right? If you just asked him now, Dr. Peterson, why do you believe in God? Could you take me through it? if what came out of his mouth would be those same 2 minutes again, or whether he just come up with some entirely new riff the second time. All right. Well,
and these we call a God.
Is that the way that Thomas Aquinas said it?
Look, J. Hutch wanted it. J. Hutch gets it.
Oh, he requested in that accent.
Yeah.
There we go. Quote Aquinas in an era-specific Italian accent. I like it. Yeah, exactly. Somebody should make an NFT of this. Everybody can own Jordan Peterson's rambling explanation of evolutionary biology, gender, and why that somehow shows that there's a God. Because it's normally if I heard somebody say what Shapiro said at the end there, normally I want to argue with them and be like, well, hold on, but why does this first cause get to exist without a cause and whatever? But in context,
because it's the first cause.
Well, okay, but I mean, whatever was the first cause, could just be the physical universe, that the Big Bang singularity is the first cause. But in context, I guess listening to all of that just kind of kicked in, the part of myself, I think that just sort of kicked my brain into the context of oh, we're clearly teaching an intro class right now. And man, that is the star student, right? I mean, he's doing so good right now. That was a coherent argument. I understood what he said. I understood what he was saying. Dave and Jordan, I didn't really get where that was just babbling nothing, But
that's where you grab Ben by the arm as everybody's, and you're like, thank you, thank you for that.
Yeah, exactly. So we Ben Shapiro is one of my least favorite people, but we believe in giving credit where credit is due on this show. And credit is definitely due to him in that conversation. You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.